It was the kind of morning that felt heavier than it should have. The sky was overcast, thick with the sort of gray clouds that seemed to press down on the city. People hurried along the sidewalks with hunched shoulders, clutching their coats tighter against the cold. Somewhere in the noise of car horns and footsteps, a faint sound went unnoticed by most, the faint snap of leather giving way. Sarah Cooper froze mid-step. She looked down to see that the sole of her left shoe had peeled halfway off, flapping against the wet pavement. Her heart sank. This wasn't just any shoe, it was her only decent pair, the one she wore to work every day. The shoes had been a gift from her late father, given on the morning she landed her first job. They were worn, yes, but they carried memories stitched into every seam. And now, on a day when she was already late for an important meeting, the left one had betrayed her. She tried walking anyway, but each step made the sole slap against the ground like a cruel reminder. A group of commuters rushed past without glancing at her. Sarah swallowed hard. She had learned long ago not to expect help from strangers. In this city, everyone was in a hurry. The bus stop was 3 blocks away. Her plan was simple: limp there, hide the shoe problem as best she could, and pray no one noticed at work. But after only a few steps, the sole caught on a loose tile in the sidewalk, tearing further until it dangled like a ragged tongue. She crouched down, fumbling to fix it, but her fingers were cold and clumsy. "Need a hand?" The voice came from behind her, warm, calm, and oddly unhurried. She turned to see an older man, maybe in his early 60s, with weathered skin and a knit cap pulled low over his forehead. His jacket was patched in places, but clean. He held a small canvas bag, the kind that looked like it might hold tools. "I think I'm okay," Sarah muttered, though her voice betrayed her embarrassment. She didn't want pity. The man knelt down beside her without asking again. "Looks like the stitching gave out. If you've got a few minutes, I can fix it for you." Sarah hesitated. She didn't know this man. But the cold wind bit at her and the thought of dragging her broken shoe all the way to the bus stop was miserable. I guess," she said softly. He smiled, the kind of smile that seemed to say he wasn't in a hurry, that helping her was exactly what he wanted to do right now. From his bag, he pulled out a small kit, a curved needle, thick thread, a pair of pliers. He worked with surprising speed and precision, his hands steady and sure. "Name's Tom," he said, not looking up from his work. "Sarah." "Well, Sarah, lucky for you, I used to fix shoes for a living. Been a while, but it's like riding a bike." She studied his face as he worked. There was a tiredness there, but also a kind of quiet dignity. She wondered why someone with such skill was crouched on a cold sidewalk instead of in a workshop. Within 10 minutes, the shoe was whole again. Tom brushed off the toe with his sleeve and handed it back to her like it was something precious. "That'll hold you for a while. Might want to get them resoled when you can." Sarah slipped it on and took a few steps. It felt solid again, almost as if nothing had happened. "Thank you," she said, her voice catching slightly. She reached into her purse. "Can I?" He raised a hand. "Don't insult me. Just, have a better day than you were having 5 minutes ago." Before she could say more, he was already walking away, blending into the crowd. Sarah went to work, her meeting went fine, and the day moved on. But the image of Tom, kneeling in the cold, fixing her shoe without expectation, stayed with her. The next day, she found herself taking the same route to work, glancing around the corners and alleys. On the third day, she saw him again, sitting on a bench feeding crumbs to pigeons. "You're a hard man to find," she said. He looked up, surprised. "Didn't know you were looking. I wanted to thank you properly. Maybe buy you coffee?" He shrugged, but there was a glint of something, maybe curiosity, in his eyes. "All right. I'm not picky." They walked to a small cafe nearby. Over steaming mugs, she learned his story in pieces. Tom had once owned a small shoe repair shop. It had been his father's before him. But when his wife fell ill, medical bills swallowed their savings. He had sold the shop to pay for her care. After she passed, the world seemed to shrink around him. The apartment felt empty, work opportunities faded, and eventually, he found himself living in a shelter, surviving on odd jobs and whatever kindness came his way. Sarah listened, her chest tightening. There was no bitterness in his voice, only the matter-of-fact tone of someone who had stopped expecting the world to be fair. In the weeks that followed, they met for coffee several times. She began to notice how Tom quietly helped others, fixing a child's backpack zipper, giving his sandwich to a man who looked hungrier than he was, mending a stranger's coat button in the park. He never made a show of it. One rainy afternoon, Sarah came to the cafe with an idea. "What if we reopened your shop?" Tom chuckled. "You don't just open a shop out of thin air. You do if someone believes in you," she said. "I've been saving for a down payment on a house, but maybe this is what it's for." He shook his head firmly. "No. That's your future. You can't throw it away on some old man's past." But Sarah persisted. She found a small vacant storefront 2 blocks from the cafe, negotiated a modest rent, and brought Tom there one sunny morning. "I signed the lease," she said, holding out the keys. "You can pay me back when you're ready. Or never. Just, let me do this." For a long moment, Tom didn't move. Then his hands trembled as he took the keys. "You have no idea what this means," he whispered. The shop opened 2 months later, its sign reading Cooper and Tom's Shoe Repair, Sarah's idea to make him feel he wasn't alone in it. Customers came, drawn by the care in Tom's work and the warmth of the place. The local paper ran a story about the unlikely partnership between a young office worker and an older craftsman she'd met because of a broken shoe. One evening, after closing, Sarah stood by the counter as Tom locked the door. The shop smelled faintly of leather and polish. "You know," Tom said, "I used to think kindness was something you gave away until you had nothing left. But you've shown me it's something that grows the more you share it." Sarah smiled. "I think you've been showing that to people your whole life." They walked out together, the sign above them glowing softly in the twilight. Somewhere in the city, another stranger was about to need a hand, and maybe, just maybe, the kindness that had started with a broken shoe would ripple outward in ways neither of them could yet imagine. If this story touched your heart, remember, kindness doesn't need grand gestures. Sometimes, it's just about noticing someone's broken shoe and stopping to help. If you believe in the power of small acts making big differences, please like this video, subscribe to Pure Kindness Stories, and share it with someone who could use a little hope today. Together, we can keep kindness walking forward, one step at a time.